All right, today we're going to graph systems of linear inequalities. Okay, so we're going to start off by, it's just a review, right? We did this before. We're going to start off by graphing, not systems. What do you mean by systems, by the way, of linear inequalities? Yes, sir?
Like more than one?
Yeah, you have more than one inequality that you graph. But we're going to start off with just one inequality, then we'll get to systems in a minute. So let's review. You guys remember if I gave you an inequality like this, 3x minus 2y greater than or equal to negative 4. How many variables, by the way, do we have here? 2. So are we going to graph this on a number line or on a coordinate plane? Very good, coordinate plane. So what do we need to do first if we want to graph this? Who remembers? Let's see. How about anybody? Oh, one person? That's it? This is a review. Okay, Libby, what do we do first?
Solve for y.
Yeah, you want to get the y by itself, right? And write this in what kind of form? It's not really. No, this is actually sort of slope-intercept, right? Yeah, for inequality. So first, in order to get the y by itself, we're going to subtract both sides by, of course, negative 3x. We're going to add both sides by negative 3x or subtract 3x. Okay, so then when we do this, on the left side, do we get 2y or negative 2y?
Negative.
Yeah, negative 2y. And is it best to write this as negative 4 minus 3x or negative 3x minus 4? Good, because we want to write this in slope-intercept form, kind of, right? Of course, slope-intercept form, you need an equal sign in the middle. Now, of course, all we need to do now is divide both sides by negative 2, then we'll get the y by itself. Okay, so when we do this, Claire, what happens to the inequality symbol?
It flips.
Yeah, you gotta remember because we're dividing by negative, you guys remember? So of course you get negative 3 over negative 2x plus negative 4 over negative 2. When you simplify, you simply get y is less than or equal to 3 over 2x plus 2. Is that okay? Do you see how it looks like? It's kind of like a slope-intercept form, right? You got the y. So, who remembers how to graph this inequality? We have to first graph what in order to graph this linear inequality? How about Aaron? What do you think?
Could be just 2.
Right, so in other words, we have to draw the boundary line. You guys remember this? This inequality separates the coordinate plane into 2 regions, right? So we have to draw the line that divides the region into half. So we know that the boundary line is simply y is equal to 3 over 2x plus 2. You guys remember? It's the same exact equation. In it, other than inequality, we have equal sign, right? That's the line that we need to graph. Do you guys remember this? And yes, your slope is what, class, in this? 3 over 2. What is the y-intercept? Do you guys remember how to graph this boundary line? Are we going to put dotted line or solid line for this boundary line?
Solid.
It's going to be solid because it says y is less than or what? Equal to. Go ahead, everybody graph. I'll wait. See if you get. Oh wait. Go ahead. Who can tell me what to do? How about, so we know that the slope is 3/4 as we said, and then the y-intercept is 2 for this boundary line. Okay. Joseph, can you tell me what to do here?
Please. 2.
Right. So where should I put the dot? On the x-axis or y-axis?
Y.
Good. 2, because that's the y-intercept, right? So we put 2 here, put point. And from here, of course, slope is class what? 3 over 2. So we have to go up how much?
3.
1, 2, 3 to the right? 2. Or can I go down 3? Yeah, and then to the left 2. Same thing, right? Now, we said it was going to be dotted or solid? Solid. It says y is less than or equal to. So we're going to put a solid line through this. And that's my boundary line, right? Now, who remembers how to shade? Because this boundary line divides the region into 2 parts, 2 regions. The whole region into 2 regions. Then we need to, do we shade above or below? How about, let's see, pick somebody random. Okay, how about Samuel? What do you think?
Jessica.
Yeah, right here. Below. How many people agree with Samuel? Below. How many will say no, we need to shade above?
I said above.
You said above? Okay. Did you guys remember to reverse the inequality symbol when you divide both sides by negative 2? Because when you did, it becomes y is less than. So guess what? It's going to be, since y is less than this line, what? We want all the values of y that is less. So it's going to be below. Right? So every order pair below this line, and also including this line, is your solution, right? because the boundary line is included in the solution. So what about 1, 1? Is this point a solution to this inequality?
Yes.
Class? Yes or no? 1, 1?
Yes.
Yes. What about 2, 3? What about 1, 5?
No.
Yeah, no.
1, 5 is not in the region. What about 0, 2?
Yes.
0, 2 is?
Yes.
It's just part of the solution, right?
Yes.
Because we include the boundary line. Do you guys remember this? Yes? Okay, let's move on to the next example now. Example 2 says y is less than -3. We're going to graph this on a coordinate plane. Okay? So, Brandon, how do we graph this? What's my boundary line? -3? So what's the equation of the boundary line? What's the equation of this boundary line, Brandon? Y is equal to -3. Does that make sense? Right? So all you have to do is really replace the inequality with equal sign. You guys remember this?
Yeah.
When I do, that's the equation of the boundary line. Now, this time, would it be solid line or dotted line when you graph?
Dotted.
Dotted. Now, this is kind of interesting because there's only one variable, but do you guys remember what kind of lines you get when you graph this? Go ahead. Okay, everybody try. I'll wait. See what you get. Go ahead and draw the boundary line, and if you remember how to shade, go ahead and shade also. I'll wait. All right, so if you ever forget to graph this, remember I told you this is one of those easier one to do a chart on, right? So it says y is equal to -3. So what can I put up for x when I do make a table?
0.
0. What else?
0.
Yeah, -1. Or okay, so I did it this way. Y is always -3. That's what it's saying, right? Y is equal to always -3. X could be any number you like. What kind of line do we get for this boundary line? We get a class horizontal. Do we shade above or below? It says y is less than -3, correct? So all the values of y that's less means right below it. So as you can see, you get a horizontal line like this, and every order pairs right below it. How many people got this? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people now see why this is the graph? Does that make sense? So let me ask you this, guys. Is 0, -3 our solution?
No.
Is this point right on the boundary line? Is that our solution?
Nope.
No, it's on the boundary line. It's not because remember boundary line is not included. It's not part of our solution. But anything below, right? What about 0, -4?
Yes.
Is that our solution?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's then move on to the next example. All right. This time it says x is greater than -3. Okay. X is greater than -3. Go ahead, everybody. Try graph this inequality. This time it's a little bit different. Instead of y, now it's x. Do you guys remember what's the boundary line, by the way? What's the equation of this boundary line? It's going to be no. What is the equation of the boundary line?
X equals -3.
Very good. X equals -3.
Got number.
And yes, it's going to be. Is it going to be solid line or dotted line? Good. Go ahead. Everybody try. I'll wait. So did anybody do a chart like? Because if you ever get confused, you could do a chart. This means x is always equal to what class? -3, and y could be any number you like, right? So what kind of line do you get here, Tajwar? This boundary line will look like what?
It's up and down.
Yeah, it's a vertical line, isn't it? So when you have a vertical line, right, x equals -3, can you shade above or below?
No.
No, because it's a vertical line. Yeah, so for the x, very good. It's going to be to the left or right of it, right? So now, do we shade right side of this vertical line or left side?
Right.
I will say right. I will say left. Patty, why is it right?
Because all the numbers on the right side are greater than -3.
Exactly. It says x is greater than -3. Every number that are greater is going to be on the right side of this. How many people got this graph? You got a vertical line, right? With dotted line, right? And then everything on the right. So it's 0, 0. Very good. Is 0, 0 our solution?
Yes.
Okay, what about -3, 0?
No.
No, that's on the boundary line. It's not. What about -3.1, 0?
No.
What about -2.90?
Yes.
Yes, that's part of our solution. Do you guys get the idea? You guys remember? So I'll review, right? Are we good? You guys remember this? Okay, let's do some then. Systems. So we're not gonna just have one inequality. We're gonna have more than one. Okay, so let's graph the systems of linear inequalities. Okay, here we go. Here's example 4. Let's see whether you remember how to do this. Yeah, now we have two inequalities. We're solving systems. So what is going to be the region that is going to be our solution. When you graph these two inequalities, it'll be where they what?
Intersect.
Overlap. Overlap, right? So these are regions, right? So intersect will be two lines or something like that. But the solution for this system of linear inequality is where they overlap. So go ahead and graph both of these, okay? Then you will see where they overlap. First of all, what is the equation of the boundary line of the first inequality? Who could tell me? How about Claire? What is the equation of the boundary line of this first inequality? It'll be?
Y is equal to 5x plus 3.
Good. Y is equal to 5x plus 3 is correct. What about then the other equation of the other inequality, boundary line of the other inequality? How about Matthew?
Y is equal to 5 minus 5x.
Yeah. Can I write this in slip in a form? So it'll be y equals to?
Negative 5x.
Good. Negative 5x plus 5. That's what I would write. Yes? Do you guys remember how to graph these boundary lines? Right? And you shade them, and where they overlap is your right the region that is the solution to this system. Go ahead, everybody, try. If you get stuck, you could ask your team. That's fine. Go ahead, help each other out, guys. I'll wait. All right, let's graph this together. Dana, can you tell me what to do for the first one here? Let's do this in red, by the way. That's why I circled it in red. Okay, so how do I graph the first inequality? Where do I start?
0.
Yeah, I go to 0, 3. Very good. Put a dot there. And what do I do? Slope is 5, right? So what do I do? Yeah, go up 5 and to the right one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and to the right. It kind of goes out, but it's okay. Can I go down 5 and to the left one? Is that the same? Yeah, because negative 5 over negative 1 is still 5, isn't it? So I could go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left one. And again, is this going to be solid or dotted? Okay, so a lot of you put solid line. It'll be dotted because it says y is less than, right? So it's going to be dotted. Okay, so let's put dotted lines. Because we do not include the boundary line. Boundary line is not part of your solution. So here we go. And, of course, do we need to shade below or above? Can I have people say above? Raise your hand.
Oh, I wrote it wrong.
Okay. Why should it be above? It says y is less than.
Yeah, except the other one.
Yeah, so look at the first inequality. It says y is less than 5x plus 3, so it should be above or below, class?
Above.
Below.
No, it's above because look, the first line says it's.
I'm just looking at the one on the left. Okay, Jason? Jason, look at what we said here. Okay, we're doing this one in red, right? Y is less than 5x plus 3. If it was equal to, it's the actual the boundary line. It says y is less than this line. Where are all the values of y that are less than this? It'll be below. It'll be below, right?
Wait, no, why can't it?
We got tricked.
Isn't it to the left?
No, it's either below or above the line. It says y is less than, so it's going to be below.
Why goes this way?
Wait, then how come you
Below is that way.
Class, how come was okay? If you look at example 3, Jason, this was to the side because this was a vertical line. For vertical line, you can shade above or below, right? But all the other lines, you shade below or above, right? Does that make sense? For vertical line, you shade either right to the left. That's only for vertical line, not for all the other lines, right? You guys remember this? Do you see why it's below the line? Yeah, below the boundary line. Let's do the other one. Let's do this in blue. Okay, somebody tell me how to do that one. How about Aaron? How do I graph the second inequality?
Is that 5?
Yes, I start at 5, 0, 5, right? And what do?
You go down 5 and then move.
To the... So yeah, I go down 5 and then do what? 1, 2...
Move 1 to the right.
That's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. 1 because negative 5 is really negative 5 over 1, right? That's a slope. So is it going to be dotted or solid, class? Dotted. Okay, so let's put dotted lines.
Dots.
Okay, Jason, do I shade above of this line or below? It's going to be? It says, what does it say? Look at the inequality. It says y is greater. It's going to be above. Is it going to be left or right of this, Jason?
Right.
No, is it going to be, no, yes, either above or below. Only time you do left or right is when you have a vertical line, right? Because vertical line, you don't have above or below. So we're going to shade above. Would you all agree, class? So look at all this. When we shade above, do you see where they overlap? This region is kind of narrow here.
Like on this side.
Yes, kind of like this. You see this region? Okay. Do you see that that's the region, right, where the two regions overlap, right? Any question? Does this make sense? I can actually show you in a little bit better way. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so let's graph the two inequalities on this graph. Remember, we like this one, right? Because it shows you really nice graph. So we're going to graph y is equal to what? What's the first one? Y
It's
less than 5x plus 3. There's our first inequality, right?
Yeah.
Let's graph the other one, see where they overlap. What's the second one? Y is? Greater than?
Negative 5x plus 5.
Oh, let's write this in standard form. I mean, slope-intercept form. Y is greater than? Negative 5x what?
Plus 5.
Plus 5. You see where they overlap? Yeah, that's the region where they overlap, right? This is a little bit better, right? To look at. Does this make sense? So when you do your homework tonight, after you do it, or if you want to check and see if you got it right, you could always, right? Go to the website and check it. Does this make sense? Yes? Do you see this? Class, do you see how to graph this system? Okay, see if, okay, then graph this one. Alright, here we go. Try this one then, guys. Here we go. Okay, then try example 5 yourself. If you really got the one before, you should be able to do this without any problem. Okay, go ahead, everybody try. I'll wait. Alright, Samuel, over here. What is the first boundary line that you got? Don't we have to get the boundary lines? Let's see if we got this. Yeah. What did you get for the first?
Y is greater than or equal to
Negative x plus 5. Would you all agree, guys? That's the inequality we get. So then the boundary line, you just replace the inequality with equal sign. Did you get y is equal to negative x plus 5? Yes? Okay, what about the other line? What is the boundary line that we get from this? Eric?
Y equals negative half x plus 4.
That's correct. You get y is equal to negative half x plus 4 because you get y is greater than negative half x plus 4. Right, guys? For the inequality? Yes? You want to write this in slope-intercept form, right? Okay, go ahead. Finish it up then. Okay, you see, all of you should have the same boundary lines and same inequalities, right? See if you can graph it correctly. Go ahead, everybody try. All right, Aaron, tell me how to graph the first line then.
You do, you want to 5
Yeah, on which axis?
on the y-axis.
Good. On the y-axis, right? Because that's the y-intercept. Then what?
And then you go down 1 and then
Yeah, go down one to the right one. Okay, do the same thing on the other side. Do we put dotted or solid line here?
Solid.
Solid. How many people say solid? Raise your hand. How many people say dotted? Okay, look at what kind of inequalities we have. It says greater than or equal to. Is it solid or dotted, guys? It's going to be solid, right?
Solid?
Yeah.
Same word.
Okay, now, what about then, which way do we shade? Above or below? How about Samara? Do we shade above or below? Above. How many people agree with Samara? Yeah, it is above. It says y is greater, right, than this line. So it's going to be all the y's of y that are greater than this line. It'd be everything above. Are we okay with that? Carolyn, tell me what to do for the second line.
You go to 4 on the y-axis.
Good.
And then you go down 1, right 2.
Good. Go down one, right two. Go down one, right two.
And you should. Oh,
Okay, and then is it going to be solid or dotted?
down.
Dotted this time, right, guys? It says y is just greater. It doesn't say greater than or equal to. So you put dotted line, okay, like this.
And then you should
Yeah, and then you shade it above or below, class.
above.
How many people say above? Raise your hand. How many people say below? How many people are not so sure? Okay, it says y is greater than negative 2x plus 4, right? If it's equal to, it's that boundary line, right? So it says y is greater. All the y's of y that are greater than this line is going to be above, right here. Do you see where they overlap? It'll be this region right here. Let's see. It'll be like this, right, guys? Okay, does that make sense? So it's this region right here. Any questions? Can you do something like this for your homework tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Good.